What is going on, GBA? I am the Confusion, and welcome back to the week 1 of the playoffs. But of course, I am not alone doing the weekly recap. I'm here with my good friend Xilicks.
Sorry, GBA fans, it's Xilicks here.
And we have a really exciting first round of playoffs, round 1 of playoffs. We have 4 battles to go over. 2 from the, I think, Sun Conference, 2 from the Moon Conference, I think. But regardless, we have 4 battles to go over for you guys. Of course, League Leaders has ended. We're not going over the conference breakdown anymore. Obviously, it doesn't exist. It is just the playoff matches we're going to be going over. And just right before we get into it, going to give you guys a little bit of intel about how the next 2 weeks are going. Next week, of course, there are only going to be 2 matches. And the week after is the one playoff match, the one championship match. So the way the round 2 playoff matches are going to go is Xilicks and I are going to do a live analysis just like last season. So if you want reference, you can go check them out. We're going to do a live analysis of both of those games. The first game going up on Thursday. I think Thursday we'll do one of them, and then Friday we will upload the second one, and then of course the week afterwards on Friday we will do the last championship match. The reason we do them a little later is to give you guys a good amount of time to avoid any spoilers and to watch those games, because of course those games are a little bit more important. So let's get into the first match of round 1 of the playoffs. It is going to be the Philadelphia Scissors versus the Tampa Bay LUXRAYS. Chimp versus Monotui. Chimp bringing his Slurpuff, Nihilego, Greninja, Scrafty, Uxie, and Zygarde 10%, and Monotui bringing Mega Charizard X, Keldeo, Registeel, Gliscor, Weavile, and the Slowking. Now let's get into this first game here. We're going to start off by Greninja being led from Chimpac's end, and the Weavile being led from Mono's end. Greninja is going to go down to Sash after Mono clicks low kick on that Weavile and really brings that thing low thanks to a crit. Not sure if that really mattered, but regardless, did a ton of damage to that Greninja. And then Greninja, hanging onto its Sash, is going to go for the U-turn. Weavile still surviving on around 35-ish%. Chimpact with the initiative is going to go into his Zygarde to E-Speed, but Mono, obviously being smarter than that, is going to switch into his Slowking, and as the Uxie is going to come in, he's going to get a nice Scald Burn. And that's going to be important because now that Foul Play he was running for the Mega Charizard X isn't going to be as useful. Registeel is going to be able to come in and set up rocks at that point once the Uxie is in, and that is only going to invite the Scrafty. That Scrafty obviously scaring out the Registeel into Keldeo. Chimpact is not going to set up just yet, just going to click a safe knockoff just for scouting, is able to get rid of the Expert Belt on that Keldeo. And of course, Keldeo being such a huge threat to Chimpact's team is going to force a sack, in this case being that Greninja on 1 HP. At that point, he can bring in Zygarde for the revenge, but again, the Slowking is going to come in. But before that Slowking comes in, a very important play is the fact that Mono decides to bring his Gliscor in to take the 1,000 arrows first, and we'll see how that comes into play a little bit later on. But then he's going to switch into that Slowking as he coils up. Chimpact being forced to switch out because of Slowking, the potential for Ice Beam. He's going to be forced to switch out, and Chimp is going to have to sack off his Nihilego to both set up rocks, get a big hit potentially on the Slowking with the Continental Crush, but Mono switching into the Registeel, not taking too much damage, and right before the Nihilego goes down is going to set up a Reflect to try the Scrafty sweep. Now, if you guys have not seen hacks, I mean, this is hacks. Well, let's talk about what happened. Scrafty now has a Reflect behind it, rocks on the opponent's field, is going to come in and click Dragon Dance on the Registeel. Registeel is going to click T-Wave, and it hits, but the Shed-Skin activates right away. Some pretty good fortune for the Scissors. Scrafty is then going to go for the Bulk Up to potentially take some hits from Pokemon like Mega Charizard X and the Weavile, but the T-Wave is going to come out again from that Registeel. The next turn ends up being that he is paralyzed on the Weavile switch in, and then paralyzed again on the low kick damage. Of course, the Bulk Up and Reflect making it not do too much damage, but at that point, Weavile on its last sliver of HP because of a Life Orb is going to click Icicle Crash, and of course the Paraflinch is in effect, and for the 3rd turn in the row, Scrafty does nothing. Of course, going down to that life orb damage, Weavile goes down and Keldeo comes in, clicking that secret sword, and of course, you guessed it, Scrafty is paralyzed. Now, right after that, he is going to be able to click Scald, and that is going to be the downfall of Scrafty, but it's not over yet. There is still some hope, because Uxie is going to come in on that Keldeo, and is going to be able to click Memento. That is going to set up the battlefield for Slurpuff to come in, force out Keldeo into the Registeel and click Belly Drum. Registeel going for the Thunder Wave, thinking that was going to work out, doesn't, because Slurpuff clicks Belly Drum, not only avoiding the Thunder Wave, but being able to pop off its 50% berry and activating Unburden. At that point, Slurpuff behind the sub can 2-hit KO with Drain Punch, my bad, and then is going to kill every other Pokemon, excluding the Keldeo with Play Rough, clicking Drain Punch on the Keldeo. So that is going to be a sweep in favor of Chimpact, although not very expected, seeing as how little luck he had with his Scrafty setup. But a very interesting game, seeing now we have Chimpact moving into the, I believe, semifinals from this quarterfinal match. Very interesting to see Mono go out on his first round of playoffs. What do you make of this matchup, Xilicks?
So the last time these two battled, it was definitely an upset for all the Sizzlers fans, because there was the chance where he was going to win with his Slurpuff, but he did get fully paralyzed and wasn't able to rest up the HP. This time we almost saw a repeat of that with the Scrafty and then also the Slurpuff, but he was able to get behind that substitute, preventing the Thunder Wave, getting the Belly Drum, and then sweeping the rest of the team. Definitely a huge burden off his shoulders, because I'm sure if he lost this game due to all those fully paralyzed turns, he would have been pretty upset, and I'm sure a lot of the fans would have been upset. So it's good to see that he was able to pull through and not miss any of his player offs at the end there. So moving in to our next matchup, we have the Florida Gators versus the New Orleans PELIPPERS. The Gators have the roster of the Mamoswine, Buzzwole, Flygon, Klefki, Crobat, and Azumarill, while the PELIPPERS have the Tentacruel, Piloswine, Escavalier, Mega Diancie, Garchomp, and Cresselia. Starting the battle, John is going to lead off with his Tentacruel, hoping to get up a layer of Toxic Spikes, because it has been such an effective strategy for him this season. However, Gator is going to lead off with his Mamoswine, which will threaten that out, and it results in both sides getting up their Stealth Rocks. Following this, we will see the Buzzwole come out, and this gives Pokemon the chance to potentially set up with his Escavalier. He does have a plan to take damage from the Buzzwole while setting up Swords Dances, and then resting off all that damage and potentially putting a huge dent in the team, or even being very successful with the Escavalier. However, the Buzzwole does have the Z Savage Spin Out, and it will put Escavalier in a range where it will die to Buzzwole's Earthquake. However, it was able to get enough damage off on the Buzzwole that the Tentacruel will easily be able to come in and revenge kill. Gator is then going to bring in his Flygon to U-turn out to his Mamoswine and kill the incoming Piloswine. Now, unfortunately for John, he is going to have to bring out his Tentacruel to try to Scald the Mamo, and normally this would kill, but the Mamo is running a pretty defensive set, which will allow it to survive the Scald, and there's not a Scald burn, which will make it so that the Mamoswine has enough HP for one more switch in of Stealth Rocks, and he'll be able to take out the Tentacruel with an Earthquake. This is very devastating for Pokemon, but extremely crucial for Gator in the upcoming late game. This will result in the PELIPPERS claiming a kill with the Diancie against the Flygon, and then Gator is going to bring up his Klefki to set up screens, as John has yet another opportunity to attempt to set up, this time with his Garchomp. Now, John knows if the Crobat is defensive, there's a chance he can live a Brave Bird from the Crobat, an Ice Shard from the Mamoswine with the Yache Berry, and then also a Aqua Jet from the Azumarill. However, the Crobat shows that it's offensive enough that it will be put into range where the combination of Ice Shard and Aqua Jet will kill the Garchomp. However, the Garchomp is going to be able to take down the Crobat, and the Mamoswine is brought in to go for the Ice Shard, and the Mamoswine is going to get a critical hit, which will result in the Garchomp going down. Now, without the crit, the Garchomp still would have died to the Azumarill coming in, so the battle, I believe, still would have been the same. However, had the Mamoswine gone down to the Scald earlier, or potentially have been burned, then it would have died to Stealth Rocks, and we could have been looking at an entirely different game. So after the Garchomp goes down, the Cresselia is going to come out and go for a Psychic, taking down the Mamoswine, and this gives Gator the chance to go into his Azumarill, while the Cresselia is going for a Calm Mind. Azumarill is going to go for the Belly Drum, and With the light screen up, the Cresselia is not doing any damage to the Azumarill, and the Azumarill is able to go for the +6 knockoff to take out the Cresselia, followed by the Aqua Jet to take down the Mega Diancie.
Yeah, I mean, the way Aqua Jet played out in this match is very clutch for him. Really, the priority in general brought this game down, and I mean, we saw how close this is. This is the second 2-0 for round 1 of the playoffs, and of course, now that you look at it, we now have Gator versus Chimpact in the semifinals next week, and that's going to be an interesting game to watch because of how interesting their drafts are and how well they play. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch next week. But let's jump into the second conference, and the first game we're going to look at in that conference is the Kansas City Giraffes up against the BORUSSIA DONPHANs. Jolt versus Lars. Jolt bringing his Seismitoad, Gardevoir, Breloom, Hydreigon, Celesteela, and Aerodactyl, and Lars bringing Tornadus, Delphox, Cobalion, Kyurem Black, Mesprit, and Tapu Fini. Notice that both of these teams decided to leave their Megas on the bench, which is very cool to see. Seeing these guys in the first round of playoffs deciding they're going to use their other Pokemon instead of their Megas is very interesting. But let's go to turn 1, right? Turn 1, we have the Tornadus versus the Seismitoad, a Pokemon that Jolt was not predicting to come out first turn, but Lars knew could give him to the advantage thanks to stuff like U-turn, and that's what's going to happen. He's going to click U-turn on the Aerodactyl switch in, which is going to allow Tapu Fini to come in, click the Surf on the incoming Seismitoad, and then click Grass Knot, doing a lot of damage to that Seismitoad in exchange for the knockoff, getting rid of Tapu Fini's leftovers. Lars is going to predict that the Seismitoad is not going to want to take another Grass Knot and is going to switch into the Celesteela to take that. So Lars is going to react and click Nature's Madness, getting a big chunk of damage off on that Celesteela. Celesteela is going to click Leech Seed on the incoming Cobalion. Cobalion is going to have the opportunity to set up rocks, but then is going to take a really big chunk of damage from that EQ. So because of that, Lars is going to decide to switch into the Mesprit and see if he can take down Celesteela through that manner. Of course, Jolt not going to allow Mesprit to come in for free, clicks Heavy Slam over the Earthquake, a risky play if Cobalion stayed in, but then again, Cobalion didn't really threaten out Celesteela that much regardless. Mesprit going to click a pretty free Calm Mind as we see the Leech Seed miss, a very big miss, because now not only is Mesprit not taking damage each turn, but Celesteela will not be gaining as much HP every turn as it would if it had it. Of course, it has the leftovers, but that's nothing in comparison to how much Leech Seed would be healing it. And we'll see that how big that is, because now the Mesprit, after having +1 in Spadef and Special Attack, is going to be able to click Thunderbolt, bringing Celesteela down. But of course, Celesteela doing a ton of damage with the combination of Heavy Slams and etc. to really put that thing in a very low position. Pretty revengeable. Of course, Hydreigon going to come in for that revenge kill, is going to click U-turn, but Lars is going to decide to keep his Mesprit around for just a little bit longer, and I mean that, because Tornadus is going to come in, Aerodactyl is going to come in on that U-turn, and is going to set up rocks on the incoming Mesprit for the sack. Now, Aerodactyl is going to click Pursuit, but it doesn't actually kill the Mesprit, which is going to allow Mesprit to throw off a very big Thunderbolt, and that is going to be devastating. Arrow is going to kill the Mesprit after getting a second Pursuit, and is going to get a Stone Edge damage on the Tapu Fini. Now, Fini is going to click Defog before dying to Gardevoir's Trick Room and the Moonblast because of how big of a threat that thing is. Kyurem Black is then going to come in to revenge the Gardevoir, but Jolt predicting something to come out from that Kyurem Black that would be able to react to the Gardevoir, something like a Roselli Berry. He's going to switch out and pop the 50% berry on his Seismitoad while taking the Iron Head. Now, that Seismitoad, of course, is going to set up rocks because Jolt decided to bring dual rockers, as well as knock off the Assault Vest on that Kyurem Black, all while it clicks a couple Dragon Claws to get rid of the Seismitoad. Breloom coming in to revenge. Lars decides to sack his Cobalion. Tornadus is going to come in, Heat Wave the Hydreigon, which is only going to allow Hydreigon to get a Dark Pulse off, but the 50% berry again is going to pop off, this time on Lars' end, and put Tornadus in a good amount of HP to take another Dark Pulse as it clicks Hurricane, then clicks a priority Tailwind, and then clicks U-turn under the Tailwind to kill. Huron Black is going to come in and kill the Hydreigon under the Tailwind. Huron Black is going to miss a Zen Headbutt and is going to die to the Drain Punch from that Breloom. Delphox is going to end up coming in. He's going to scare out that Breloom and kill Gardevoir with 2 Fire Blasts. But then when Delphox has to click the Fire Blast on Breloom, misses and dies to the Rock Tomb. Now, it's not that big of a deal, of course, because as you saw from if you watched Jolt, if you watched Lars, you would know that an Assault Vest Breloom was able to take that Fire Blast in the end, but the combination of Zen Headbutt and Fire Blast probably wouldn't have been the case. Of course, Drain Punch being able to heal back, still the Zen Headbutt and Fire Blast would have been able to kill, so that was unfortunate, but the chances of landing all those moves with 95% chance on the Zen Headbutt, 85 for the Fire Blast, and he had to hit 3 Fire Blasts to secure that game, so overall it was tough for him, but yeah, what do you think of this match, Xilicks? It went to Jolt in the 1-0.
So yeah, this match really came down to the wire with that Breloom able to dodge some Fire Blasts, and I believe Jolt said it was a 60-40, and the Breloom was able to come in clutch after letting him down a few times in some other leagues, but luckily for him, Breloom was able to pull through in this matchup. So moving on to our next matchup, we have the San Diego Chimchargers and MV versus the San Francisco Giantes and gym leader Geo. MV brought the roster of the Mega Pinsir, Tapu Koko, Empoleon, Hoopa Unbound, Gligar, and Amoonguss, while the Giantes have the Archeops, Mew, Mega Scizor, Shaman, Blacephalon, and the Ditto. Starting off the battle, we are going to see the Archeops against the Empoleon. The Archeops is just going to U-turn right away into the Mew, while the Empoleon is just going to set up the rocks. Then we're going to see a hard swap to the Gligar, while the Mew U-turns into the Scizor. Then we're going to see another hard swap, the Gligar into the Amoonguss, while the Scizor is going to Mega Evolve and set up a Curse. Now, MV, I believe, was carrying the Foul Play, so had Scizor been an SD set, he would be able to do a lot of damage with the Foul Play. However, with the Curse boosting both attack and defense, the Foul Play isn't going to be the best option, but he is still carrying the Hidden Power Fire, which will still do a lot of damage to the Scizor. The Scizor, however, is going to be able to eventually roost up enough HP so that it's at full, but MV is just able to sit there and continue clicking HP Fire, and his plan is eventually catch the Scizor on a turn where it's roosting not to full HP, but towards a medium level HP, and that is when he's going to bring in his Tapu Koko. Then we're going to see the Scizor get swapped out for the Shaman, which normally would be a pretty good response to this Tapu Koko, but the Koko is running the Calm Mind, which will boost up its special defense and its special attack, and it'll allow it to do a lot of damage with Dazzling Gleam, then take the Life Orb Shaman's Earth Power due to that special defense boost, and then fire off a Thunderbolt to finish off the Shaman. After this, we are going to see the Ditto come in, copying the Tapu Koko and knocking out the Tapu Koko with the Dazzling Gleam. Following this, we will see the Amoonguss come back, and then we are going to see the Mew, as the Amoonguss pulls a double into the Pinsir. Now, normally this would be a pretty good position for the Pinsir, however, the Mew is Choice Scarfed, carrying the Ancient Power, and it will absolutely obliterate that Mega Pinsir. But the battle is not nearly over for MV, as he is going to send out his Hoopa and set up the Trick Room, and at this point he gets the claim kills until that Trick Room runs out. So first it's going to be the Scizor, then it is going to be the Ditto, followed by that will be the Mew, and then finally the Archeops. Now, it's not entirely over for Geo, as there is potentially a chance where he can reverse sweep with the Blacephalon. So the Blacephalon will be brought out and it will go for the Flame Charge, knocking out the Hoopa. Then he will be able to go for the Mind Blown, which will knock out the Gligar. However, due to the recoil damage from going for that move, the Empoleon will be able to come out, go for the Aqua Jet, and knock out that Blacephalon, giving MV the 2-0 win.
Wow, this was a really close match to see, especially being that it came down to that one Aqua Jet bring, and from Geo's perspective, he was not expecting it. If anything, he was expecting it on a Swords Dance set. He acknowledged it in his team builder, but after seeing the set that was brought, he did not expect it to be Aqua Jet, especially on his build of a team, and that coming in clutch. Of course, this is the second game in the round 1 of the playoffs where Aqua Jet clutched the game in the end for both MV and Gator. And of course, now we have our 2 semi-final matches ready for the next week. We have Envy versus Jolt leading one conference, and Gator versus Chimpack leading another. So those are your top 4 right now. And if you guys are excited for the semifinals matchup that is coming to you live from us next week, Thursday and Friday, let us know in the comment section, and we are really excited. So get hyped, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.